Hello and welcome back to Super Wall Jump, a video games podcast where I talk to content creators and video game developers and everything in between. With me today, I have the lead developer at Lunar Frost. Introduce yourself, please. Who are you and what do you do?
Well, I am the lead developer, coder, designer, animator, basically everything over at Lunar Frost. I am in the middle of development of Crimson Solstice. It's going to be my first breakout title in the indie dev scene. Yeah, I mean, other than the artists that I have doing pixel art and portraits, as well as a composer for music, I basically am doing everything.
Yeah. What is Crimson Solstice?
So it is going to be a cozy mystery adventure. It's going to be a game that's going to come out on Steam in September. It is got those sort of cozy pixel graphics that everyone from Stardew Valley, games in that genre have come to love. But it's going to be a little bit more on the horror side, a little mystery about the town of Moonvale, where a attack is happening on their village, and the main character Tawny Lovelace has got to ascertain how to solve the mysteries that surround the Crimson Solstice and save the villagers.
Sounds like a fun time. What made you decide to jump into game development as opposed to literally anything else?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've always been a avid gamer myself since the age of 5, playing the original Final Fantasy on the Nintendo. So it dates back quite a bit. But other than that, it took me a while to actually hone in on learning about computers and software engineering and then game development. I spent a lot of my youth just kind of living life and making ends meet by being a server until one day it hit me, hey, not young forever. I should probably pursue something that I am passionate about. So I went to school, got my degree, and the rest is history. Started working on this after hitting the corporate government scene for a little bit and realizing that that wasn't quite what I wanted to do.
And how long have you been spending working on Crimson Solstice?
It'll be a year here in a few months. I could say it's been longer in terms of my learning process, as I've been sort of using what I've learned from school in the game as well. But since it's gained its identity, I would say about September, October of last year. So 6, 7 months, and then it'll be about a year come release time.
That's a pretty tight turnaround for your first game. I know many people doing game dev who spend years and years and years working on just one game. So, is it simply a scoping thing? And that, all right, cool, I want to create and release my first game in a year? Or is there another reason? Is it just like, all right, cool, everything worked out, so it'd be about a year?
Kind of, sort of. It is tight. I also You use the word scope, right? And I think that's something that a lot of people need to keep in check is getting started. You have a lot of ambition, right? And the sky's the limit. Creative freedom. It can be a big undertaking, and it's easy to get things out of hand. And so I wanted to set that sort of personal limit, say like a year. Let's not go any further. Let's release this, see how it does, see how it takes, get some personal feedback, and then go from there. Because, like you said, it is pretty tight. You see people working on it on a game for 2, 3, 5 years. As a solo developer, and it's easy for things to get out of scope, get out of hand.
Yeah, I personally think of the video game Routine, which was fully built out, and then they took another 5 years rebuilding the game from scratch and doing everything over again. So
Absolutely.
a year turnaround is pretty tight when it comes to game development. So you did say that you are basically like a solo developer. Um, Have you done any work with contractors anywhere?
Not as a developer, but I did work as a software engineer in the past, so that's where I kind of got my roots in sort of organizing and working with code and all that stuff.
Mhm. And are you also doing all of the art and music and sound and everything as well on this game?
No, I'm not. That's actually the only aspects that I have others working on. I have one artist that's doing the character portraits and cutscene art, as well as another individual who did all of the pixel art and tile sets and whatnot. And then I have another individual I've been communicating with that is composing the music currently.
And what has that process been like working with these outside? What has the process been like working with this outside help?
It's been great so far. I think especially within the indie dev scene, a lot of people are eager and excited to get their work out there and just
Mhm.
kind of to hear back from someone. You say, "Hey, this looks wonderful. I'd love to see more." And then, a dialogue begins. And before you know it, you're going back and forth creating something wonderful.
Yeah. How did they find you to begin with? Did you use a certain subreddit? Did you post on LinkedIn like some people do, I guess?
So for my composer and main character portrait artist, so she actually is my wife, so she is an artist herself. So that was pretty easy to say, "Hey, would you be interested in this?" And
I'd say
she's
that's pretty easy to onboard then.
Oh, yeah. No, it's been great. We're both really good at communicating with one another, so, just shooting stuff back and forth. Um, but other than that, the composer was someone that I heard about from word of mouth. 'Cause, my brother-in-law, he likes to go out and play gigs with his buddies, and, he plays he's really good at guitar, basically, and he's like, "Hey, I got this guy that runs a studio, if you want him to whip up something, I'll contact him," and then there we go, rest is history. But
There
yeah,
we
with the
go.
with the pixel artist, it was just a guy that I found on my own through like itch.io. He
Mhm.
had like a really, really cool tile set, and so I reached out and said, "Hey,
And sometimes it is just that simple. And as we've talked about on this podcast, it is a lot of who you know and when you know them and how you know them.
100%." It doesn't hinder people from doing it. I wouldn't say don't let it stop you because, I just found out about this composer guy, not too long ago. But
Mhm.
it certainly helps, and I think it's tough for people to reach out and, we all live in our bubble, right? But the world's smaller than you think, so if you reach out and try and make those connections, you might be surprised.
Yeah, there are always people who want to help. So why this game specifically? I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you have several ideas just for games in general, right?
Absolutely, and
So
yeah.
why Crimson Solstice specifically? Why this format, length, subject matter?
So it wasn't necessarily my first idea. It started out as a thing that was like, "Oh, I'll just make something small and put it out there just for fun." But the more I worked on it, I didn't wanna put it down, and then it became a project that was like, "Well, I guess I'm doing this now because 'cause I've already put so much effort into it." But I've always been a huge fan of fantasy and horror, so I figured might as well put the 2 together, and I am a huge fan of the pixel art genre, dating all the way back to Super Nintendo, right? Games like Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, stuff like that were a huge inspiration. So when I played Stardew Valley, that had that similar palette and color scheme and all of that stuff, it was it was just perfect for me. So it kind of evolved as I got older, right? You play
Mhm.
different games, and then I'd always played games like Resident Evil, Silent Hill as well, and thought, well, why don't I take a sort of cozy game like Stardew Valley, and take elements from that and incorporate other elements from stuff like Resident Evil Silent Hill and kind of turn it on its head to make it a little bit spooky, a little mysterious, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, it just snowballed from there. It's a mixture of fantasy, supernatural, with a sort of cozy vibe that makes you feel comfortable, but then when the mystery and the horror starts to hit, it's kind of uncanny. So
Hmm.
it's been a fun ride.
And there's farming, right? I've been checking out the Steam page, and there is farming in this.
There
Um,
is, yeah.
how did you come to the idea of making people choose what items to farm during this like limited time, right? Because there's a limited time from the start of the game to the end when the blood moon happens, right?
Exactly. So I'll harken back to games like Resident Evil, right? Where it's a survival horror game and you have to manage your resources accordingly. And your major resource in Crimson Solstice is time. So a villager might be asking you to help him reinforce the fence to keep out some sort of looming threat. And that's going to take some of your stamina for the day. Or you can choose to farm up some crops, which might help feed someone in the future, or unlock a quest. Basically, there's little requirements, right, for each individual interaction you have with the villagers. So let's
Hmm.
say one of them requires a certain type of crop. Well, you need to decide, okay, am I going to dedicate a large portion of my stamina to making these crops or helping out this villager? Which it's not as simple as that. You can also eat the crops, sell them to buy other things, but it's
Regain stamina, the whole nine yards.
exactly. Exactly. So do I want to get these crops now to have more stamina later? Or, how am I going to handle this? Then you can kind of see how the loop forms there, where you have to decide how you're going to spend your day and your stamina.
Yeah, which is important because in all games, that is sort of the play. How do I get what I want? And the choices that you make to get there are part of what make games good. Even in a fairly straightforward game like Doom 2016, you still, at the end of the day, have the choice of, okay, but what guns am I going to use in order to
Exactly.
accomplish this objective? Right?
100%.
Which is important. So you mentioned that you had a bunch of influences that you like pulled from. Uh, what overall influence did you have while working on this game? You mentioned Silent Hill. You've mentioned Stardew Valley. Are there any others?
It started with Stardew and games like My Time at Porsche, any of those cozy titles insert there, which is how the game started. I was just going to make like another cozy farming title, but then the further it went on, the more it kind of became a horror game. And I said, well, instead of just the villagers being some people you interact with and, have the romance tree and all that, what if it was dangerous? What if it was at night? What if there
Hmm.
was a threat? What if there was something else? And that's kind of where, like you said, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, um, you know, that side of kind of psychological horror type of game. Another one that comes to mind would be like it's yet to release, but it's called Neverway. I think that's another good example
Hmm.
as they kind of take that formula and turn it on its head.
Makes sense. And something notable about cozy farming games is that they always limit how much time you have at night. Because, well, like whether it be My Time at Porsche, whether it be Stardew Valley, or many of these other cozy games, usually it's like, all right, cool, you're gonna pass out at midnight. And so you spend most of your time during the day doing stuff, and that also adds to the atmosphere and the mood, right? You get the sense of like, okay, cool, it's a happier time because most times in the daytime and color psychology and all of that.
Right.
So
It
inverting that.
yeah, absolutely. Which this game will sort of start that way, but as things go on, um, I don't want to give away too much, but as things go on, it kind of becomes necessary to explore more at night, as that's where the what's the word I'm looking for? That's where the catch is, right? That's where
Yeah.
y- it might be
It
dangerous at night, but you have to explore to learn the mysteries, so to say.
it's risk reward, right? I
Exactly.
pull from a game like Subnautica. Subnautica, great game. If you stay in the shallows the whole time, you're not gonna get anywhere.
All
You're gonna
right, you
eat. You're gonna be eating basic fish the whole game, and then eating other fish to get your water in. But if you want to advance, you do need to go and put yourself in danger, and that's something a lot of the cozy genre sort of avoids. I think that in Stardew Valley, for instance, theoretically, I don't think you ever really have to set foot in the mines.
No, exactly, and it all takes to place during the day, right? But if you want
Yeah,
to, like you said, risk reward, that's a perfect way to put it. You got to risk a little tango with that Reaper Leviathan if you want to find out the truth, right?
yeah. You have to be afraid of those teleporting squid guys that not only teleport themselves, but also teleport you way outside of your ship. And then you have to reorient yourself, and then you die, and then you die, and then you die. And that wasn't an audio glitch. That was me just reiterating the death loop that I got into last time I played Subnautica. Um,
Oh yeah, that's just how it goes. I was gonna say that's actually a great point. Is that this Crimson Solstice is intended to have multiple endings, and so if you play it and you die, that's just an ending that you received, you know. Take what you've learned and try it again and
mhm.
see if interacting with certain other villagers or going a different route will give you different results.
And that'll almost certainly help with replayability, which a lot of people are looking for.
Absolutely.
It's why
100%.
every game these days usually has a new game plus or equivalent. Uh, because hey, don't you want to play through again? Because for a lot of people, they see games as an investment, and so they're like, "How many hours can I spend in this thing?"
I agree. I absolutely agree. In a game like Doom, as you mentioned before, the replayability is that it's fun. It's fun to go shoot things, right? And
Hmm.
so that kind of handles that weight on its own. Resident Evil 4 remake. It's fun to shoot guys. In a more story-oriented game like this, I thought about that in terms of, well, what's going to keep people hooked? What's going to keep them coming back? And as you said, I think the multiple endings replayability, first of all, adds more mystery, and then it adds the multiple endings, which is fun.
Yeah, and hey, that's also part of it. I don't know if you've played this game, but there's a game called Slay the Princess, and it also is very narrative heavy, and it's all about the various endings you can get. People really love that game because they can go back and get different outcomes every time based on their choices or
Right.
lack thereof.
No, absolutely. And it's like you said, the whole bang for your buck, right?
Mhm.
I definitely favor longer games because I get more out of it. So, Final Fantasy 16, the most recent iteration, you can play it forever. So, it's something a lot of people think of, especially when everything's vying for your attention. You got to say,
Yeah.
is this worth my money? Which, is also why I'm going to shoot for a very low price point. I'm going to make Crimson Solstice $10,
Mhm.
taking after that sort of Stardew Valley inspiration, right? I don't know if you know
Mhm.
much about the developer Eric Barone, but he sold it at $15 and he never raised the price. Gave out additional add-ons and DLCs for free. And I think that sets a precedent going forward that it should be fun and it should be affordable and, within
Yeah.
a certain expectation limit, right?
Mhm.
I wouldn't try to sell this game for $60 because it's not a AAA title that boasts amazing 3D graphics, right?
Yeah, and also, there's the whole part of the thing about price is also due to the economy being bad. Uh,
Yeah, that helps.
and also, for some reason, it's not about how much fun the game is to play. It's mostly about graphics that determines the price.
I
You will
think that
not
has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, you will not find a $60 pixel game out there. Not
It's
really.
true.
For Nintendo, maybe, but Nintendo prices everything really, really high because they know they can do it because they've basically monopolized that market. There's only
It's
one
true.
place you're going to get Donkey Kong Bonanza, and that's on the Switch too.
It's true, and then they'll charge you another $20 to play your Switch games on it that you already
Ye-
bought.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a good example. Because yeah, I guess I never actually considered that, but you're right. Most, if not all, Pixel games are probably priced anywhere from $10 to $40, I'd say.
And there's also the thing about pricing your game too low. Because if your game is like $2 or $3, I'm going to look at that and be like, okay, cool, that feels like a student project.
Absolutely. Or it's made in RPG Maker, or it's shovelware. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the Vimes Boots economic theory?
I can't say I have.
The Vimes Boots economic theory is basically a poor person will spend $10 on boots, and over 10 years, they will have to rebuy those boots 10 times. A more wealthy person will buy a pair of boots for $50, and those boots will last 10 years. So, by spending more money, you are getting a better product that will last you longer. It's sort of the idea of okay, cool, at a certain point, you can invest in longevity and also in quality.
It makes sense. Absolutely.
Yes, and that is based off of the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett, which is very, very good for many reasons.
I mean,
Um,
it's a wonderful statement, and I think it definitely holds a lot of water. And it depends, right? Like,
mhm,
can you have both? Which is why I'm so inspired by Stardew, because I've played
yeah,
that game for 300 hours, or more even, over the course of ever since it's come out. But it usually is, as you say. Do you want to buy, you know, a shoddy shirt that's going to rip in 3 washes, or
yeah.
pay
Or do
twice as
you
much?
go to, or are you like me and you go to a thrift store and you find a shirt from the 1980s that still holds up? I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah,
go with the thrifted shirt, not just
that's the
because it
real
fits me
play.
better, but it is proven that it has the longevity.
Absolutely. Buy houses, buy old houses, don't buy new houses.
That is, whenever I can buy a home, that will be on the list. Have you also heard about the peak pricing? And I'm not talking about like peak hours. I'm talking about peak the game.
Oh, a
Uh,
new game called Peak. I don't think I have.
I so Peak is a game that came out last year, by Aggro Crab and Landfall in their first collaboration. Um, they priced the game at $8, and when they were asked why, they're like, "Hey, so $8 feels like $5, but $9 feels like $10. $11 still feels like $10, but $13 feels like $15." And there was just a conversation that came about of the wiggle room in pricing of people basically round to the nearest five.
It's
And
true.
so they priced their game at $8 because they figured, well, that just sounds like a $5 game.
I
So
mean, that's an interesting strategy. I thought about this a lot for sure, and I didn't consider about the in betweens. But you're absolutely right, and I feel like the majority of people tend to just turn their brain off if it's too much, right? Oh, well, I don't have 10 to throw on it, so I'll look for
yeah,
something else, right? And
yes,
considering the bloat of games today, because the indie market is more accessible than it's ever been. Why not? Why not just go look around? You could spend another 30 minutes researching and find something in a similar vein that's half the price.
Yeah. I mean, but there's also the question of, hey, about 50 video games come out every single day. And if you even assume that half of them are asset flips or AI generated or just plain shovelware, that's still, you're competing with 25 games releasing on Steam basically every day.
It's rough, and
Yeah.
Steam will bury your page or your game 5 pages deep, right? If it doesn't meet a certain criteria that the algorithm, which I'm sure is run by AI now as well, dictates.
Yeah. And finding your place in that market can be done by in many ways, whether it be through pricing, through social media marketing, or just plain hoping that it works and then you get lucky because sometimes that happens too.
In a blue moon, it does. You're absolutely right. But, you gotta do everything you can to try and get your name out there, right?
Indeed. That is because when you are making a game, you are a small business owner. That is the fundamental reality of making games is a business and you do need to make money actually. So you
Absolutely.
have to figure out where to spend your time and resources in a way that gets you the most return. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of people that are telling you, "Hey, if you want to make sure you get a return on investment, do this." Because if they knew how, they wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been a process, right? Like, I've had to do
Mhm.
all the paperwork, setting all this up. It's not all fun and games at sometimes. I never wanted to be on social media to advertise me or my brand, but it's just a sort of necessary part of the process, right? I wanna
Yeah,
sit around and make cool games, but, I don't have the extra budget, so to say, just to get people to handle my paperwork or answer my emails or take care of my social media accounts, right? So it's a
yeah,
lot. I sometimes I'm working for like 11 hours a day. So
yeah.
it can be a lot.
And that's with your wife helping you out on the game.
Mhm. 100%. Yeah, sometimes we'll just be sitting, she'll be drawing for hours and I'll be on social media or working and we're just going to town. Bless her. She's I'm lucky.
The power of a good marriage.
Absolutely. Whew.
I am also married and I am currently writing a movie script with my wife.
Oh,
Um,
that's awesome. I love that.
yes, it is sometimes quite stressful, but oftentimes very rewarding.
Right? And I'm sure you guys have fun with it, through the stress, right?
Oh yeah, it's the playing ping pong with each other with ideas of, okay, cool. This sounds really cool. How do we make this work better? And how do we make this also into something other people will like? Because, well, we know that we like it. We are two people out of 8 billion,
Right.
and we have
What makes us special?
exactly it being creative. You can't just be creative. Unfortunately, with the economic system that we have and the fact that we need money in order to live, you have to think about how your art is perceived by others,
It's true.
which sucks to a degree.
I wish it were just we do it and it's fun, right? And that's all it takes.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, if you want but also as a consumer, if you want more of one particular thing in the world, you have to spend your money on it. I
Capitalism.
it's capitalism, but if that's how we're gonna if you're like, man, I wish that they were making Outer Worlds 3 or something, maybe buy Outer Worlds 2, you know?
Right. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and if you want Crimson Solstice 2, buy Crimson Solstice.
Please.
There we go. Um, so what was the experience like of writing characters for the game?
So, this is something that I actually really love to do. You said you're, a writer to an extent, and
Mhm.
I've always been involved with fantasy outlets, like I was telling you before. That includes things like Dungeons and Dragons, where a large portion of that is imagination, just making stuff up, right? And so it started with, well, I mean, it goes back a long way. I made the character Tawny about a decade ago when I was writing a fantasy zombie apocalypse uh, novel. And so I kind of took her, just cherry picked her out of the story, switched her around to fit in this universe, just like a strong, kind of tomboyish uh, young woman that can handle herself, and then started creating people around her. Okay, what this person likes to help. They're a strong individual that can do so and is capable. Who lives in this village as well? Well, we need a
Mhm.
shopkeeper. Okay. Well, what kind of personality do they have, right? So it starts small and just starts ballooning. And before you know it, oh, well, this character would complement this person. Oh, well, these two wouldn't get along. That's perfect. Let's add some drama there. What if these two have a kid? Oh, what if they have a brother? Stuff like that. Oh, well, the brother's a jerk. We don't like that. And,
Mhm.
and you just start creating these threads that make everyone likable or dislikable in their own way. And before you know it, personalities start to bloom out of that sort of void. Okay, what do I need to? Who am I missing? Well, I don't have an individual that's just an outright jerk. Let's
Mhm.
make someone for people to hate, right?
Yeah, because that's important too. And a big thing that I have found through character writing is if you put two characters in a space, they should talk. That doesn't always happen in real life, but you're not writing real life. You're writing a story that people are consuming.
Right?
So every two characters, even if they don't have a relationship, should say something to each other.
Because that
And
could
what
be
does that look
fun,
like?
right? If they have no chemistry, then
Mhm.
just watch the train wreck unfold, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, that I love when that happens. I love when it's like, "Hey, cool. You two shouldn't be in a room together, but you are. How are you going to deal with this?" And it's great.
Oh,
I
I love
personally
it.
love it. But also one of my favorite shows is The Expanse, which does a lot of, all right, cool, let's take two characters that wouldn't normally interact in the real world and put them next to each other and make them hang out and or fight for their lives.
Oh, it's great. Especially because in real life, people will just walk away or say nothing,
Yeah.
right? So
If
it's
someone is weird to you in an elevator, you're gonna hit the get out button and then get out of the elevator and then wait for the next one. That's
oh, but
just what's gonna happen. But in a
we as
story, you
humans
can't do that.
oh, yeah. No, and we love that drama. We wanna see all of that.
Yeah. It's part of why people like stories so much. They're there for the characters.
100%. And, I love to read as well. Just, on occasion, if games can't keep my attention. It's an unfortunate thing, right? I love to read, but games are so captivating. But, yeah.
Yeah. It's the interactivity of it. What if you could be a part of the book?
Yeah, exactly. Then, that hits the nail on the head. That's kind of why I've always liked games like RPGs because
Mhm.
it gives you that option. And I really want Tawny to be that option. She does have a personality, but the player is navigating her and making the decisions for her. So is she going to
Yeah.
be involved or is she just going to do her own thing? Are you just going to farm the whole time and ignore everyone? That will have
Mhm.
no repercussions, I'm sure. Or are you gonna
Oh,
be nice?
hey, guess what? In proper story, choosing to not talk to anybody is going to also have an effect. Then you become the weird person on the outskirts of town.
Exactly. I'm sure we've all experienced that at some point.
I was that person in high school. Why does he just hang out by himself? Well, the truth is, I had incredible social anxiety and I didn't know how to manage it. Sorry, everyone from high school. Oops.
Hey, that's how it goes, right? Or
Yeah.
or why are they hanging out with those people? People always like to speculate or add their 2 bits, so it's inevitable.
And again, that's why we look at stories and we're like, ooh, what's going on here? Because we see characters and we're interested in them.
Exactly. Which I tried to make a little something for everybody, you know?
Mhm.
One player will buddy up to Scarlet the shopkeeper because she's charming and she's cute, but somebody else might think that strong and reliable Dorian is more their cup of tea. So they want to hang out with him and spend all their time with him. And I have options for both and for everyone else. So it's trying to be uh, tailored to where everyone can have fun and find something they like.
Mhm. There we go. Um, so what obstacles have you encountered during development? Like weird to find bugs or oh man, getting on Steam is actually hard,
Whew.
etc.
Yeah. Well, that one, Steam, they take a lot of paperwork. I had to get my DBA, my doing business as Lunar Frost. That takes paperwork, which everything takes money, right? So that's not fun either. But yeah, the actual development process, I mean, whew, it's it's a ride, right? You'll set something up and be like, "Great, this is working, awesome," and then you start working on something else, and a week later, you're like, "Oh wait, no, that's broken. I need to go back and fix that." So, I mean, in just the wiring and coding process, it's a constant battle of trying to get things to where it's solid and you can move on from it. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much goes into creating even the simplest of games. Well, you gotta be able to move. You gotta be able to interact with things. You gotta be able to look around with the camera. And that's just basic things that we as gamers take for granted. And if it doesn't work, this game sucks. I'm done with this, right? Now, I've done
E-
it.
Every verb in a game is hours upon hours of work.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter even if that verb is just jump, because if you want the game to feel good, you have to test that jump hundreds of times. Be like, okay, cool. Does the jump feel good? Okay, is the jump high enough to get to various ledges? Is the jump buggy in any way so people can't like double jump forever?
Definitely.
Do you want to have coyote time, for instance? That's another thing you have to consider. And just for jumping, and suddenly a game where the only thing you do is jump has all of these questions appended to it. And it is like that for every aspect of game development of okay, cool. Everything I introduce is going to have all those different variables.
Yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head. And, in a choice-based game like Crimson Solstice where you can decide what you're gonna do, it's easy to miss something where you say, "Oh, well, I only tested if ABC happens, but the player tested DEF, and I didn't consider that, and now something's broken." So it's a lot of testing in a choice-based adventure.
Oh yeah. And I've spoken to multiple developers about the importance of QA. You need people who will go in and try to break the game
Mhm.
because otherwise, customers will buy your game and then they'll break it for you. And they're going to be a lot less happy about finding game breaking bugs.
Oh, yeah. Then you got bad reviews, and it's just a train wreck.
Yep. But do you have any advice for any upcoming developers, people who are working on their first game, people who are like, man, I'd love to build a game one day?
Yeah, definitely. It kind of goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. Scope is my biggest bit of advice. Don't shoot too big. Start with something reasonable, get it done, make sure it works, and then add on to it because it is very easy to, uh, just keep adding systems. I want cool combat. I want the visuals to be stellar. I want awesome jump mechanics, this and that. Oh, it's an RPG. You can level up. And then all of a sudden you're sitting back saying, oh, okay, well, none of these systems are working as good as I wanted. And now I'm disappointed by it all. You get discouraged, and it's easy to get discouraged at times if you find something that's not working, but just keep at it, right? If
Hmm.
it's something you're really passionate about, just know that it's going to take time and it's okay to keep learning, right? You
Yeah,
only know what you can know, and so just keep at it, keep learning, and before you know it, you'll look back and say, "Wow, I might not be where I am, but I am way farther than where I was when I started."
totally. And with that, I think that brings us to the natural end of our episode. Um, all right. So, if people want to find this game, is it live on Steam? Well, okay, it's not live on Steam, but it's available to wishlist right now.
It is available to wishlist, and there's actually a demo coming soon. It will let you play the first 4 days of the game and give you a little taste of how it works. You can talk to the characters, figure out what they're all about, and yeah, that should be coming very soon.
Huzzah! Um, and as always, listener, thank you so much for listening. Um, if you liked this episode or would like to hear more, be sure to check us out on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcast, and leave us a review or subscribe. Let me know that I'm doing a good job because I need the validation. And if you want to keep the conversation going, feel free to join our Discord. And, there you can post pictures of your pets or talk about games or talk about game dev in general. But with that said, thank you so much for coming on. And for everyone else, have a great rest of your day.
Hey, thank you so much. It's been great.